In our previous classes, we already studied about endosperm, and we already know about endosperm in our fertilization. That means in fertilization, and our fertilization, I told you that when the pollen tube enters to the embryo sac, the first male gamete enter to the synergy with the help of your filiform apparatus, guided by filiform apparatus. Nextly, it fuses with the egg cell, and it ultimately gives rise to the first fertilization. And the next end type, that means the second male gamete, is again going to fertilize with your, that means fuses with your two polar nuclei. As it fuses with your two polar nuclei, the term is given as a triple fusion. That means three n type of nucleus are going to fuse and form a single structure, which is otherwise known as your endosperm and most commonly known as your nutritive tissue. As the zygote is formed, that means the embryo is formed. In the other side, the nutritive tissue is also formed. So here the embryos, and in every structure you saw that there is the embryos, that means I mentioned the embryos, and the nutritive tissues also, that means the endosperms. So it is ultimately formed from the primary endosperm nucleus. That means it is formed from the PEN structure. That means primary endosperm nucleus, and it gives rise to, that means the PEN gives rise to, it is also PEN in nature, gives rise to PEC. These things I already covered in your post-fertilization event. That means this the post-fertilization event. So PEC means primary endosperm cell. Primary endosperm cell. And next is the endosperm formation takes place. So basically, when the primary endosperm nucleus gives rise to the primary endosperm cell, that nucleus can be divided into so many types. That means it can be divided horizontally, it can be divided vertically, with a lot of manners are also there in which the your nucleus is going to divide. According to this division of a nucleus, it is again divided into three types. That means according to your division of your primary endosperm cell, that means according to division of your nucleus, it is divided into three types, which is otherwise known as your types of endosperm, is again divided into three types. One is your nuclear, that means the first one is your nuclear, second one is your cellular, and third one is your helobial. So the basic difference, I am going to tell you about the basic difference between your nuclear, cellular, and helobial type in first stage. That means in your nuclear phase, firstly the formation of your primary endosperm cell takes place. Next, the primary endosperm nucleus is takes place. Here you consider that a single nucleus, or maybe I draw over here 5 nucleus are also there. Next, the 5 nucleus are going to divide, and a number of nucleus are going to form. That means a number of nucleus are formed. You also consider here the diagrams are mentioned in your book, and I also draw some of your diagrams, which is quite easy to understand too. That means these three diagrams are quite easy to understand the total process. So just compare these diagrams to this diagram. So here is a number of nucleus and draw a single nucleus. That means it is your primary endosperm cell. That means here is the primary endosperm cell. Nextly, the primary endosperm cell, in the primary endosperm cell, mitotic division takes place, and the free nucleus are going to divide. That means the nuclear divisions are takes place. That means the karyokinesis process is takes place, not the cytokinesis process. But later on, the cytokinesis process is also takes place. So firstly, the karyokinesis takes place. Karyokinesis means the division of your nucleus. That means nucleus are going to divide. That means in this stage, just the nucleus are going to, here in the single nucleus, a number of nucleus are formed. That means free nuclear divisions are going to take place. Next in the free nucleus, that means it is your nucleus and a number of free nucleus divisions are takes place, and a free vacuole in it, that means a large space in it. Nextly, the cytokinesis takes place. That means after the karyokinesis process, the cytokinesis process is also takes place. That means the wall formation, that means the cellular division is going to take place. So here the cellular divisions are takes place, but the cellular divisions are takes place from the periphery towards the center. That means the first the wall formation takes place, nextly towards the center. That means the cell divisions are takes place from the periphery towards the center. It is most important. Just understand. So what happens here? Overall, I told you that here the primary endosperm cell. Firstly, it's going to do your karyokinesis process. Karyokinesis means your nuclear division takes place, and by the nuclear division, it is going to divide a number of times, and a number of free nucleus are going to divide. Free nucleus are also formed. After the free nucleus, it is going to divide by cytokinesis. That means cytokinesis takes place, and it is the cytokinesis process takes place from the outer to inner. That means from the periphery towards the center. So the most common example of these things are mainly in monocots, your rice, wheat, maize, etc. But commonly you can take an example of your coconut. But here one exception, it is not only the coconut, it is the water of coconut. That means it is otherwise the water of coconut is otherwise known as your liquid endosperm. That means if we take an example of your coconut, there is a liquid substances in it. That means it is the liquid substances after some days. That means from a green coconut to a mature coconut, there is a division of your kernel takes place. That means even after some days, the liquids are going to degenerate and going to divide itself, and formation of your cytokinesis takes place, which is the outer edible part of the coconut. That means there is a liquid endosperm in it in the middle part, but in the outer wall there is a white edible kernel part, which are going to study about your cellular. I again told you about that in your cellular division. So here basically the nucleus is going to be division, so it is always known as a nucleus. Nextly, the cellular. Cellular means your cell. Here, what happens? Firstly, the division is takes place transversely. Nextly, the transverse division is takes place or vertical takes place. A number of types of divisions are takes place. Firstly, the transverse division. That means the cell is divided into two types, and nextly the nucleus is going to divide, and cytoplasm is going to. That means your endosperm is going to divide. That means two types of divisions are takes place over here. Nextly, that means next to that stage, consider that it is your step number 1. In your step number 2, two types of division. Here the same, that means the structure is same, but in this case it is going to divide. That means transverse division and vertical division. In both the regions, the divisions are takes place. That means cells are going to form, and nextly a number of cells are formed from the center to the periphery. That means the total structure is fully filled with cellular mass. That means the mass of cells. So here it is known as your cellular type. That means the endosperm is your cellular type. And we also take an example of your datura in this case. But you can also commonly take an example of your coconut. That means the white edible part of your coconut. In the previous days, in your nuclear division, I told you the example of your coconut. But the water of your coconut, that means the liquid endosperm of your coconut. But in cellular type, you can also take your example of the white edible part of your coconut, that means the kernel of your coconut. So here is the cellular type. So what happens over here in cellular type? According to this structure, here the division is takes place, but you simply know that it is your primary endosperm cell. It is going to divide. That means the nucleus is going to divide over here. Nextly, the nucleus, here the nuclear type, so nucleus is going to divide. Here the cellular type, so the cells are going to divide. It is the simple thing. But in the practical way, these are going to division. Firstly your transverse, nextly your vertical, and nextly all are filled with the cells, which is otherwise known as your cellular type. And in cellular type, most common example is your white kernel part of your white edible kernel part of your coconut. That means the white part of your coconut. Nextly, the Helobial type. In Helobial type, what happens? Two types of cells are formed. That means it is basically the intermediate of your nuclear type and cellular type. That means the Helobial type is the intermediate. Just understand the difference. What is the difference between your Helobial type and the both this nuclear and cellular type. So in Helobial type what happens? It is the primary endosperm cell. Next to the primary endosperm cell, it is going to divide, but the part which are belonging to your microphylla end, which is towards your microphylla end, little bit bigger, but which is your cellular, that means which is your chalaza end, little bit smaller. So it is divided, but not divided equally. One part is your bigger part and one part is your smaller part. So the bigger part is always known as your microphylla cell, and the smaller part is always known as your chalaza end. Nextly, the microphylla end is going to divide three nucleotides. That means a number of nucleus are also found here. You also saw it. That means a number of nucleus are found. But in chalaza end, maybe 1 to 2 nucleus are going to form. In some cases, some nucleus are formed. In some cases, nucleus are also not formed. So in the same way, in this structure also, in Helobial type, two types of cells are formed. That means one is towards your microphylla end, one is towards your chalaza end. That means the cell which is present towards your microphylla end little bit bigger, the cell towards your chalaza end little bit smaller, and the microphylla end, the cell which is towards your microphylla end forms a pre-nuclear division. That means a number of nuclear divisions takes place. And nextly, in your Helobial type, the chalaza end, that means the cell towards your chalaza end, is going to divide nuclear division, but in some cases, some types of nucleus are may be formed or may not.